Extremely large, sometimes painful, heavy, source of ridicule sometimes.
My breasts are made of silicone with surgically replaced tissue over the top of them. To me, right now, they're not much other than two lumps of silicone. They're just there.
I would say that my breasts are east and west. Most people have north and south. I've been blessed with east and west.
They have not changed in shape, although they're smaller now than they were when I was a young girl.
I guess when I was like 7th and 8th grade, girls that weren't as developed called me names, you know, like slut, just because I had boobs and they didn't.
I played basketball in 7th grade, and I remember running down the court and one of them kind of just popped out of my bra. It was just flopping all over the place. Very embarrassing.
I vaguely remember my daughter, Ashley, asking me why, before I had cancer, why they hung down so low. And look, you can lift them up, and then now you can put them down.
Well, I've had my breasts, my nipples, rather, pierced twice. And the first time I did that, it didn't work out well, and I ended up having to go to the ER and having them surgically removed.
When I was in high school, there was a British exchange student who lived next door, and I had this mad crush on him. So in those days, everybody hung their clothes out on the line. So I am out there one day. I have a skirt on, but I have a halter on, which is like a swimming suit top. And I'm hanging the clothes on the line, and he comes over, and just as he comes up to me, a bird comes and drops its little deposit right, targeted right into my cleavage. Well, I was so humiliated that after that I ignored him.
For breastfeeding.
I want to say it's mainly just for the nourishment of children, but I feel like there's so much more there.
I suppose ideally to feed a baby.
I think it really depends on how you were raised, your culture.
One, because it's a sexually attractive tool that women have, use and abuse, and also for breastfeeding, for children, obviously. I mean, those two reasons.
My grandmother and my mother both had breast cancer. They both had mastectomies.
Cancer itself is scary, but to aunts with breast cancer makes you a high-risk person automatically, so it's always on my mind.
Besides myself, my mother had breast cancer. Actually, I know several people who have had breast cancer. My sister-in-law's sister had breast cancer, and unfortunately increasing numbers daily.
When I used to go to do chemo with my mom, when I took her, we did meet a woman who had breast cancer. This was her 3rd bout with it, and she was very young. Her sister happened to work at the office where my mom got the chemo. So it was very interesting to see that dynamic between the sisters, one working there who did not have breast cancer and the other one that did. And I often wonder now if she's still alive.
I had several friends who have had breast cancer. I had a next door neighbor who had breast cancer. I had a first cousin who had breast cancer, but that was related to something other than a genetic thing.
Around the nipple on the end.
I feel like mine are at the extreme, and so I want to think that average is somewhere, a couple sizes below me, but I guess normal breasts look like the breasts that are supposed to fit your body, and that'll vary for whoever, you know, you're talking to.
Normal breasts look like a teardrop inside of skin, which is not what mine look like anymore. Mine look like a donut.
Breasts are breasts. Some are small, some are large. Some belong to the itty bitty titty committee, and some belong to the big boobs are us.
I think they begin to look like the person who owns them. You know what I mean? So that you begin to identify. I mean, if I looked at my breasts, if you just cut off my face and looked at my breasts and line them up in a lineup with 10 other, I would recognize my breasts and say, yes, those are the perfect breasts for this face.
I don't really care either way. Reduction, I think, would be nice sometimes. I guess it makes people happy to get enhancement. Whatever works.
I don't think people should be ridiculed for their choices, but I think we should definitely ask ourselves why we're making that choice and make sure it's coming from a place that's beneficial to us and not in a harmful, like the media says I should look like this kind of place.
Personally, I didn't think I would ever do any enhancement. I wasn't sure about reconstruction even. Doctor convinced me to do reconstruction. Enhancement, I have a friend who did it, and she is perfectly happy with her result, and I think they look fine. Reduction, if it's necessary, and I mean, if it's something that bothers you, by all means.
I have had a breast reduction, and I'm actually very, very glad I did. I had lost weight, and I had the indentions in the shoulders, the back aches, headaches, and so I had the reduction, and it was the best thing I've ever done for myself, except the plastic surgeon did leave a staple in my breast.
I feel that women insult themselves by having it done unless it's done for medical reasons. I mean, if somebody were so top heavy that they were getting back problems, I can see it having done. But I think at one time it was men who were obsessed with breasts, and now I think it's women who are obsessed with breasts.
I feel very fond of them. I'm just glad to have them.
Sometimes I just have good days and I'm like, yeah, I love my breasts, they're awesome. And other days I'm like, oh, I wish I knew how to bind them down. So it goes back and forth. We have our hills and valleys with them.
I feel fortunate to have my life and my health now, and to not have to worry about having to have cancer, since I've already been there, done that. It's one less thing to worry about. I feel okay about the way they look, so actually pretty happy about them right now.
I love my breasts. They're mine and no one else's. And I love me, so it's all good.
I like my breasts. You know, I mean, I like them. I mean, I have them and I value them, and even if they were hanging down to my waistline, I would still value them. I mean, they've served me well. I would still